Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, and I am joined by Maynard in control and Pig. Gentlemen, we have finally got to the end of bracket number 3, and it's going to be Hurricane versus GuMiho. What do you think, Jeff? Oh, you're not on yet. 1 second. Go again. Say exactly what you said again.
I think Hurricane's going to bop them.
There you go.
They played earlier, I believe, and Hurricane beat GuMiho. It just seems like a little bit of a stylistic mismatch. GuMiho gave him everything he had in game number 2. Like, again, I know I said this earlier, but if you get a chance to watch the replays of that first series, Hurricane survives like minus 30 to 40 supply for 10 minutes the entire time, just microing and defending for his life, and then wins the game. It's amazing. So GuMiho's got what it takes, obviously, but I favor Hurricane here.
Yeah, I mean, GuMiho obviously has a style that he believes works. Going mech against Protoss is, hard to say the least.
Yeah.
While there's anyone in the world that probably could do it, perhaps it's him, but the first series doesn't give me a ton of hope.
Pig, thoughts?
I think GuMiho's going to do it. I think GuMiho's got a little
hipster.
bit. I think he's just got
Where's
a
your
bit.
ascot and your V-neck?
I did leave my scarf at home, but don't worry. He's got X Factor. He's got experience. GuMiho, he's so good when he's under pressure. Hurricane, I'd love to see Hurricane change everything we expect from him as a player, but he's a player who crumbles under pressure and gets a little bit too predictable. So I think GuMiho is the guy who's going to bring out the weird builds, take the fight to him, and I just think GuMiho is the favorite in this match.
All right, and whilst we were getting things going, actually, I recall, Jeff, you remember that pylon you were mentioning? What actually happened with that pylon?
Well, we can go inside this replay because I didn't make it into their next game.
Oh. No.
So I will show you. Look at this probe.
Cheeky probe dropping a pylon right there.
Cheeky,
Now,
cheeky.
normally, listen, when you drop a pylon in a Zerg base, it's 2019, okay? Every Zerg goes, no, 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 I've seen this before, and they check for it. Lambo is such a well-adjusted, just kind-hearted German young man that he's like, certainly a Protoss player wouldn't drop a pylon over there. I guess the other part of this, too, is that most European players aren't very creative, so he's not facing people doing interesting things like this. That's typically the North American server or Koreans. So Lambo was caught completely off guard. This is, he was expecting kind of more of a normal land-faring battle, but instead there was some kind of gigantic beach landing of sorts. It was a pylon in the back of his base. And if we speed it up here a little bit, Protoss player, what do you pair your pylons with? Well, it's going to be a Dark Shrine. We'll speed it up here for the sake of everyone. And then once that pylon, look at this beautiful moment in time. Now,
Didn't you say?
This is actually an in-control strat from
this is
way
a
back.
I've seen this before.
I lost ladder points to you doing this to me the other week, Jeff.
And I'll try it next week.
And he'll get him again.
And they went to work, blue collar and all on that lair, and wouldn't you believe it, they chopped it down. Now the funny thing here is that 4 DTs actually cost 1,700 minerals and 1,700 gas, so it's an expensive investment. But again, Lambo is just confused right now. He's like, the DTs aren't supposed to show up there right now. They're supposed to be in a warp prism, and they're supposed to be paired up with Archons later. You're breaking the game right now. And then that was it. Lambo and Trust end up having a kind of a weird fight later that Lambo's not really losing super, super hard, but he's just frustrated and taps out. So it's 1-0 for Trust.
Well, it's actually a sick recall as well, because then his prism popped right after, and he just uses them to harass. I love that. Efficiency.
Yeah.
Efficiency. I like it as well. Gentlemen, though, going through this with the final of bracket number 3, now almost about to conclude. What are your thoughts? Who's going on forwards? Who do you think is going to advance from bracket 3? GuMiho or Hurricane?
I feel Hurricane. I'm feeling it.
Yeah?
GuMiho.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Tiebreaker?
I already said Hurricane. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
I did as well, but I was just doing what James said. You know.
Good.
He's a host,
you're a good
and we should do
panelist.
what he says. He's the boss of us.
You're correct. Thank you very much. It's time to go over to the commentators here for the final match in bracket 3.
No walk, James. No walk. Unbelievable. He's dropping the ball a little bit over here. Guys, we're getting ready for this final series of bracket number 3. It's going to be a fun one. Ben, yesterday we closed out the second bracket. If this is going to be half as good as Hero versus Keen?
Alive.
Alive, excuse me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely, and I mean, GuMiho is a crazy Terran. TVP and yet again to settle it in the decider match. And Hurricane's been looking very solid. From what I've seen so far in the tournament, he's been very proper, you know, nothing crazy, doing textbook kind of Protoss stuff, but GuMiho, he's not like that at all. The rulebook goes out the window. We've been seeing lots of mech from him in TVP. It's been crazy stuff, and they did play earlier already, in which Hurricane did take down GuMiho 2-1.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about it before we were on air, and I mean, mech against Protoss, it's kind of a never-ending debate, right? A lot of people will always say it's bad. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm not going to say that it's incredibly effective or that it's your go-to build or it should be your go-to build.
But it's never been the standard at all.
No, exactly. And I don't think it's as good as Bio. I think it can be good as a surprise. The problem is, it's not that surprising when GuMiho does it, because we all know that he loves mech so much, and then I think it becomes very hard to make it work.
You know, I always go back to that clip of a TY against a Protoss on Katowice where there's like 200 supply siege tanks and Archon's Immortals just like walk over him. But with sometimes, and spawning in the bottom left as our blue Terran, it is GuMiho. I was ready to talk about TVP and mech, boys.
We're gonna talk about it, man. We've got some time. It's automated. It's a pretty big map. Over here on the right top side, can this man beat GuMiho one more time and make it into the group stage, the round of 24 of the Intel Extreme Masters? It is Hurricane.
Just talking about like the styles of mech that you can bring to the scene, there have been players, I'll bring up Uthermal here. There was a time when he was using mech to eliminate a lot of top Protosses, be it Showtime, and really dominating with Liberators to support the mech. It was very stylistic. GuMiho did beat Probe with mech. I saw a lot of Hellbats, a lot of tanks, very bulky mech. It wasn't running around with Cyclones. It was straight up, hey, my army's going to be really strong and I'm going to knock you down with it. So I am looking forward to see what he does this game.
I would love to see him maybe go mech 1 out of 3 games if it does go to distance, but I think doing it in all 2 or all 3 games, I think that would be a mistake because players like Hurricane are good enough to deal with mech if they know it's coming, if they see it early enough.
I mean, Bio is still so good against Protoss. It's Marauders, Bio, Widowmines. I remember back in the day with GuMiho being on FXO when he used to multitask like a madman. Widowmine drops here, Bio drops there. And honestly, he's very good at multitasking, but he did talk about, after the Reina series, that he doesn't feel as sharp as he has been, given they took a little bit of a break. So maybe he's just feeling that mech is a little bit easier on him, easier on the hands right now, easier coming back into the game. So that might be why he's pulling it off here.
We'll see. I think Automaton is a very funny map in this matchup, because traditionally you could say like, oh, this should be all right for Terran, right? There's a lot of surface area in the main base to drop, Medivacs can fly in from multiple angles, and I think that is absolutely true, especially when Protoss goes up to 3 bases. Traditionally, they will take their expand at like 1 o'clock, so that's obviously quite far away from the bottom side of the main base. On the other hand, I also kind of like it for Protoss, because the first pushes, I think, is the only real scary thing for Protoss in this matchup. I think if Protoss can go uncontested in the first 5 or 6 minutes of a game, they're going to create a very healthy economic lead for themselves, and then the game is nice. And any sort of those pushes with Marines and tanks where you don't have stim or combat shield yet, it's going to take a long time for those units to march to the other side of Automaton. And in that way, I like this map again for Protoss.
Yeah, if we talk about the map in its most basest of elements, having the 3 bases on this map, they are all as far away as they can be from your opponent. So getting that defensive spread is very nice. The game gets complicated for Protoss when the Terran starts getting Liberators and the ability to drop the main, and already we see something very cheeky from GuMiho. Could be a Medivac drop, could be a Liberator.
I think Hellion Medivac, right? If he goes 4 Hellions, yeah. 3 Hellions?
I tell you what, though, what could also be scary, Liberator in the main and 4 Hellions in the natural. In fact, I do like seeing this from GuMiho. This is the kind of GuMiho. He's very crazy. Hellions on the map, they are spotted. This Adept may fall. If he actually shoots the I was going to say he should have the focus shots on the Hellion, given that won't regenerate in that kind of skirmish. It is a Liberator, so he is going to be trying to split the attention of Hurricane here. Oh, this Oracle, this is a big catch, actually.
Yep, he's going to be able to pick off at least one of these Hellions. I thought he was going to be able to get both. Maybe he wants to get the Reaper there. The Oracle's going to scout as well. It seems like maybe Hurricane is worried about something. On the other end, he doesn't want to send that Oracle too far away. Good
positioning. This is good defense from Hurricane, and we saw a Phoenix in the production tab too, so maybe sniffed out that maybe he's played against this kind of stuff before.
Yeah, the problem with one Phoenix is that it still takes a very long time to kill a Liberator, right? So it is important. The Phoenix is not in position yet. This Liberator will start dealing some damage, maybe 2-3 probes. 2 it's going to be, but this is a lot of damage. Like I said, it takes a long time for one Phoenix to kill a Liberator. At the same time, these Hellions show up. I kind of like this already for GuMiho. I think this is very acceptable damage.
It absolutely is, and that denied by 10 probes. Is he losing them in the main still? I think he must have done, because I don't think those Hellions killed that many, right, at the natural. But the Liberator is down. One big thing there that I really love from GuMiho, he put the Liberation Zone all around the Nexus, not just to, you know, ply apart some mineral probes, but really to deny mining entirely on that base.
Yep. But once again, one Phoenix is simply not enough damage. So yeah, you have an answer to the Liberator. The problem is that it takes quite some time. So you're losing probes, you're losing minerals. What I think most likely happened is that he thought the Liberator was going to go down and he sent the probes back a little bit too fast and probably lost 2 or 3 more probes than he was supposed to there. So yeah, this is it. I mean, right now we're even on workers. That's always a very pleasant situation to be in for the Terran player. I think GuMiho is quite happy with how this started off so far. He's starting Stim as well, by the way, Ben, so he is switching things up.
I was just about to clue onto that, Kevin. 4 barracks on the way, Stim on the way. This is a full-on bio build. Going 5 barracks before your 3rd CC. It's also a strong 2-base attack, and he must feel very happy about the fact that he did that much economy damage.
Yep, and this Starport is going to make it home. Yeah, it's taking some damage, but 1 Phoenix and 3 Stalkers. I mean, the Stalkers are going to be out of range any moment now. That Phoenix will not have enough damage to kill it. He's even repairing it. That's actually not necessary. Now he's going to end up losing a couple of SCVs to that Oracle. But I think that GuMiho is quite pleased with how this went. Now we do have a Robo Bay going up on the other side of the map. I assume this is for Colossus. The only thing is that if you lost this many probes early on, will you get enough units out? That Withermine is going to connect with one of these Stalkers, by the way. That's nice. Does he have enough units on the ground to protect his Colossus?
We'll see, we'll see. Right now, it doesn't look like he is getting a fairly early 3rd with this. Immortal production starts off, by the way,
that's
just
weird,
as the Robo Bay finishes.
Yeah, exactly. These are small things as a Protoss, but you want to prevent this. If you wanted this Immortal so badly, you should have started it while that Robo Bay was halfway done. He does fire up Thermal Lens immediately. I think he cancelled the Immortal.
He did, a little bit indecisive from Hurricane here. I mean, has he got the scout off on all these barracks in GuMiho's base? I believe he did. Does deny the SCV on the 3rd, so that's something. In fact, no idea of how many barracks are going down, so he doesn't realize the imminence of this push that's going to be happening.
The thing is, though, that Immortal would have actually been super useful because there's going to be quite a few Marauders in the mix as well. And having a Colossus against the Marines is fantastic. But if you don't have great upgrades, Colossus against Marauders, that's not going to go very well. And since he doesn't have charge either with this opening, it's going to be Blink, Stalkers and Colossus. This is where you truly want an Immortal or 2 in the mix to actually deal with those Marauders.
By the way, he took the factory off the reactor there, so this kind of signals to me that the idea of going for a very fast 2nd starport, and the fact that he's been continuing SCV production, this isn't an all-in by any means. GuMiho's build feels a bit like, oh, I was going to go for a 2-base all-in, maybe I'm just going to get up 5 barracks for very defensive purposes. But yeah, he has no plans of that. I think he's going to start utilizing the mobility of Terran against Protoss and trying to pull him out of position with this.
How many observers do we currently have out? Is it 3? Yes, I think he has 2 in the middle of the map and he had 1 in the main base. This 1 in the main is very nice, by the way, because it even sees the units marching out as well. But I'm not sure if he really has vision of the left bottom side or even the south side of his main. Like, if I would have 3 observers, I would always put something on the south side of my main. He does have the Phoenix there, so that's nice.
Oh, this is a lot of damage coming in. If Hurricane doesn't handle it properly, he is kind of in position and a really good pull away.
I love this. I love this. He drops 2 mines at the 3rd, but at the same time he's going to drop mines in the natural. And don't forget about the mine drop in the main base as well. GuMiho hitting all 3 mineral lines at once, and he's going to get some really juicy connections.
This is the Demolition Terran if I've ever seen one. 15 probes. Also the bio just running in. He sees the army go to the natural. This is so much economy damage. GuMiho is bringing it to Hurricane right now.
Beautiful timing, 25 probes going down. Yes, there is a shield battery. The Nexus survives, but the army of Hurricane at this point is just so freaking slow and immobile, right? You don't even have Blink yet. And even if Blink finishes up, how many Stalkers does he truly have left? He has a couple in the main. I mean, it's 7 Stalkers in total. Even then, you have to be very careful against like a double drop, because that's simply not enough firepower to deal with this kind of stuff.
Very well handled by GuMiho. That's not easy to pull off. We have a Ghost Academy in production. We have lots of Vikings in production, and the aggression is not going to stop anytime soon. By the way, GuMiho, this army, he really has to respect it because it is strong. +1 attack, just finished. These Colossus are scary. He's getting a bit of map control, but GuMiho with this drop, in fact, what does he plan on doing with this? Like going for reinforcements, possibly?
What is Hurricane doing, actually? His units are all over the place. This War Prism is actually going to get sniped in the middle of the map as well. That is massive forward blink. That means he's gonna end up losing a Stalker or two probably as well. Just one Stalker for now. But even this is good for GuMiho because he's on 20 workers. Yeah, he's like, yeah, please chase down these units, kill my medevac, kill these Marines and Marauders. I don't really care. Every second that goes by, I'm producing 4 Vikings at a time, and I'm less and less worried about those Colossus.
Very smart recall, by the way, with those units. He realizes he's going to pick off the units in the bottom right, in the map, part of the map that nobody ever ventures to, pulls the Colossi back home, so he will be able to deflect this attack. That was actually really nice and smart thinking by Hurricane.
But I still hate his position because he's down 20 workers.
And it isn't a double forge. He's stuck on +1 right now. Now he's getting +1 armor, but behind in upgrades, Ghosts are coming on the field. Your one ace card here is the Colossi, and there are a lot of Vikings in production and already on the field.
These Stalkers are way too far forward as well. That means these Marines and Marauders are just going to stim forward. A lot of these Stalkers go down. These are all really good trades for GuMiho. Even if he ends up losing a bunch of units, it's once again, it's totally okay. With the economy that he has, he can make these trades. Hurricane cannot. Stalkers are expensive if you're not that rich as Protoss, and losing a Colossus is very painful as well.
One thing we have to talk about, by the way, 72 workers for GuMiho, and he's still making them. There's no fourth base in production, I don't believe. So
TY spirit.
Absolutely channeling his inner TY. The supplies, relatively close, but GuMiho's army is just going to keep getting infinitely better here, and his income far superior to his opponent.
Yep, and the only thing that I think we can be critical of is that he hasn't done a phenomenal job in sniping those ops. It would be awesome if he sees this one, EMP it, scan for all I care, build a turret, anything. It is really important to deny the map vision of these Protoss players, especially on a relatively large map like Automaton, because as Protoss you become truly paranoid, and if you don't know where the army is, you know that it can fly in from so many angles. That's why you see Hurricane bringing Stalkers into the main base as well. So if GuMiho would be a little bit more on point with that,
this
really
sensor tower just finished in time to spot that warp prism, I do believe. And even if it does fly in, there are turrets in location for GuMiho. GuMiho now switching it up to Liberators, and this is where the game gets very scary.
Yeah, I still like GuMiho's position, but we saw yesterday we also loved Alive's position multiple times. There is double forge now, there is a second robotics facility on the way, and the longer this goes, the more likely it is that Hurricane will crawl his way back into this game.
Yeah, he's definitely stabilizing. We can't discredit GuMiho at all, though. He's doing all the right moves at this point in time. A Zealot run by won't get much done, but...
Did he just fly the... Did he just fly... He flew it into both turrets. He lost the Warp Prism and probably 3 Zealots inside of it as well. Only a single Zealot made it into the main base. That's a little bit reckless by Hurricane.
That's the most scared I've ever seen 4 Liberators of 1 Zealot ever. Like just trapping it in there in the base. Fourth base does start from Hurricane. I mean, he has to kind of do something, but this army of GuMiho, this is so scary for any Protoss player. Disruptors, though, I like that choice. It's good against the Ghosts and Bio, but he's going to have to start thinking about how is he going to deal with these Liberators. Stalkers are still joining the field. Not the best battle unit, but the only answer he really has to that air unit right now.
Yep, I mean, there's not really any other option. Yeah, he has his Stargate, but Phoenixes or Void Rays are not an option, and he's just simply not rich enough to afford Tempest in this phase in the game. The Ghosts are going to try to land a couple of EMPs. They do connect with all the sentries, by the way. That means no Guardian Shield in the battle. And I actually think that GuMiho can just take this fight as long as he doesn't eat the Purifier Novas, but so far the splits are good. The second one whiffs as well, and I really like this fight for GuMiho.
Yeah, no shields left on any of these units. It's this. That was a decent Disruptor hit, but nice splits by GuMiho, surrounding even with a couple of these Vikings. The Disruptor's all dead, all the units dead, and GuMiho marching on this fourth base of Creator. Behind this, just more Liberators, more Bio, 2-2 on the way. Great play from GuMiho, honestly.
Yep, had a phenomenal start in this game and never really took the pressure off. Kept killing units, knew that he was in a really good position, was perhaps a little worried about the counter-attack, but did a really good job in dragging Hurricane all over the place. And he said, hey, if you want to fight that badly, we'll fight in a minute or two from now on, when my double starport truly kicks in. In the end, Hurricane does kind of survive here, but he lost all of his tech units, and that's the biggest problem for him.
Right, what's his answer here? Double Colossus at a time? I do kind of like that, given that all the Vikings died, but still, when you're forced to make a bad decision, or out of 5 wrong decisions, and you pick the least bad one, it's still a bad one.
Yeah, double Observer went down there as well. That's obviously painful if this game would somehow continue, because he doesn't have time to build anything other from these robots other than Colossus or Immortals. But the Liberators are in a very scary position, and I think that Hurricane knows the writing is on the wall. GG. GuMiho will take game 1 in a pretty convincing manner.
You know, we talked about like what he was going to do, and he really brought it to Hurricane. The starport can be one of many things which makes it difficult. The Phoenix and the Hellions in the natural, the Phoenix was used to defend there, but then the Liberator snuck in 10 probes, 10 probe kills to start off the game. Liberator denied all the mining and also very valuable gas mining, because that was the only place that he was mining it. So very nice start from GuMiho. Then he just played a solid macro game to follow that up.
Yep, love the way he opened it up. Love the transitions in the middle of the game as well. GuMiho looked on point there. The second map is going to be played on Port Alexander. Little different than Automaton. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit harder to be that effective with drops. It's a little more committed in general. When medevacs go into the main base, it's a little harder to get out on Port Alexander. Size-wise, comparable, but Port Alexander is a tiny bit smaller.
I think in terms of base setup, like the 3 bases, they're still very easy to do, right? You have to be worried about getting drops in your main once that happens, because you get very split amidst your bases. One thing that could be used by a Protoss player, though, is the fact that it's quite hard to get a Reaper into the main base. So a lot of these builds where you opt for a Raven, I know we haven't seen that from GuMiho, but then you have to throw in a Cyclone because you don't get to scout, that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll see something a little more crazy from Hurricane, but I think he's just going to go with the standard, honestly. And really, all eyes on GuMiho at this point. The first series, he lost with Mech against Hurricane in a tight series, but here he really threw it at him. I loved that double Widder Mine drop, by the way. That is really what threw that game out of control.
I mean, yeah, it was a double medevac drop, but in the end, he hit all three bases. And that was the sickest thing, because then once again, just when Hurricane's economy recovered a little bit, he lost 15 and 16 additional probes, and it makes it so hard. Either way, phenomenal game one by this man who's representing the American organization Psystorm Gaming. It is GuMiho.
Great chaotic play in that first game of this series, the decider match of Bracket 3. And spawning in the southeast side as our red Protoss, it is Hurricane.
You know, it was nice that in the start of the previous game, he was quite far out with his adepts, like what GuMiho is doing here, trying to trick his opponent a little bit. Hopefully Hurricane scouts early on, he's like, oh my god, I'm getting one base cheesed. We know that's most likely not going to be the case, but this is still something that some Protoss players like to delay the Nexus. Wow, that's a very fast double gas as well. But what I want to say real quick is that Hurricane sent out his initial 2 adepts very far, right? They were even defending the Hellions on the 3rd base. That's nice and all, but it also means that the moment the Hellions drive by, adepts are going to have a very hard time catching up. That's why I personally prefer to keep my units in the natural. You can have it a little bit in front of your Nexus, but if you defend that far out, that also means the moment those units go past your adepts, you have so little to protect your probes.
There was quite a few things that game that were a little odd, like he didn't go for the wall off on the top side, so the Reaper could potentially get in and be very annoying. By the way, really good scouting by Hurricane. He even spots the SCV sticking around in that location, so it could have definitely been a bit of a follow-up there. As to what it would have been, we don't know, and we will never know at this point in time. GuMiho is still mining a lot of gas, though, as we can see at the bottom of the screen. So still keeping these. In fact, I think he's pulling guys off gas now. So he's going to opt for probably a macro follow-up behind this. He has been spotted. What is this tech lab on? This is on the barracks? Okay, this is unusual now.
Marauder Cyclone?
maybe Marauder Hellion. I personally, I'm not a big fan, but I have seen GuMiho do it in the past.
Marauder Hellion? You know, this is a sick build, actually, Hellion Ghost. Believe it or not, Ben. I've seen it.
Really?
I faced it once. I was like, just Hellions. I can deal with this. I had a couple of Phoenix to deal with the Hellions. You know, Ruff actually did it against me. And I was like, wait a minute. Those are ghosts. I was like, I think I can deal with it. Then my Phoenix got EMP'd and I lost like 27 probes. It was the sickest thing. But he's just going to float the barracks back into the natural and it's going to be a starport. Maybe some Cloak Banshee play. That's a possibility. Of course, a Raven is an option. But I think Cloak Banshee's maybe a little more likely here.
You know what build this is looking like, Kevin? This is the build that I did against you in Twitch Rivals, and I lost miserably against you, so I am not a fan of this build anymore. I saw Cure do it in a base trade tournament, and he actually beat DNS 3-0, so initially I was like, man, this is awesome, you get to do so much damage, but in fact, this could be a really big scout. I love how diligent he's being with his probes. If he doesn't actually go to that point again, that's a little worrisome, because that would give him all the answers.
Take a look at it. Now there is a robotics facility in the main base, but now it's 2 additional gates. I would have loved to see Hurricane after that scout, after that perfect initial scout, to be a little more crazy here. I would have loved to see a faster Twilight console. I would have loved to see him just go Stalker Zealot here. Stalker Zealot with a robotics facility, double Forge 3 base. Let's freaking go.
So a Warp Prism, so he's looking to be aggressive against this.
Maybe he's worried about Cyclones, and obviously Warp Prisms are good to cancel the lock-on, because every single time a Cyclone locks on a Stalker, you can pick it up with your Warp Prism and it breaks the lock-on, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this either, man.
We'll be super fair to Hurricane, though. He has been producing probes. It's not as if he's skipping, it's not as if he's doing a lot of things where he's sacrificing his economy. It is still a 35 worker lead to 26.
But he
GuMiho
doesn't need to be aggressive. I just feel like, in general, Terran has to be aggressive against Protoss, especially if Terran has already delayed their expand. Is there a need for Hurricane to do this? In my opinion, there is no need for him to do this at all.
Maybe in his head he's like, information is power, and I will get information just by being aggressive, but you're totally right. This is making the game risky when you you started off automatically ahead from all the information you gathered, and right now, is this going to be like a sentry on the ramp kind of deal?
The problem is there is a Banshee heading towards the main base. I mean, Hurricane, you better do a lot of damage with these Stalkers, and I don't know where the sentry's actually heading home. I don't know, he's going to wipe in 3 Adepts as well. Sure, Hurricane is going to kill quite a few SCVs here. This is going to hurt for GuMiho, but at the same time, I think that GuMiho can do quite a bit of damage in the main base of Hurricane as well.
Yeah, he's going to deal damage, but how much damage? He has to really, really hurt his opponent. Nice lock-on the Warp Prism. Nice focus fire on the tank there. I love how he's using these Stalkers to get rid of that Cyclone. Now the Warp Prism can't be focused, but that Banshee, you talked about it, Kevin, that's dealing so much damage in the base of Hurricane. That's really stumped him here. Does he have an Observer? I think it just popped out.
I think he just popped one. Obviously, Observer's built pretty quick. He even has 3
A little bit of F2, running back to the base. That is the panic button right there.
Yeah, but now the Stalker's still a little bit out of position, so maybe this Banshee can grab like 2 more probes, maybe even 3. I'm okay with this if I'm GuMiho. I think every Terran is, hey, you kill my workers, I kill your workers. That's all right. I've got mules. Sure, Hurricane is still up for workers, but this is not a 3-base Protoss. This is not a 3-base double forge Protoss. These are very acceptable trades for GuMiho.
And you know what's beautiful about this, Kevin? This is going to be a push strategy. Yeah. I was about to say, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw SCVs quite a lot more join the fray. And when you see that you've forced your opponent to warp in Stalkers, mate, what's worse against tanks than Stalkers, especially when they don't have Blink?
One more thing, Ben, because Hurricane panicked a little bit and he brought all 3 observers back.
He can't see this!
He doesn't see this push coming, and now he spots it with a Warp Prism in the main base, but he's building a robotics bay as well. What is that going to do? He needs units. He needs as many units as he can possibly can in Immortal. Maybe if he gets a great engagement on these tanks and these Banshees, it's still not that bad, but I don't like where this is going for Hurricane.
Yeah, and he's still got units in his main.
Goodness.
He doesn't know about this. Is this the first sign that he knows about this?
I mean, I thought the Warp Prism saw it, but he's in a rough position, man. These tanks are going to siege up so close. That's in range of the Nexus.
And there's no shield battery on the fray. Bunkers joining. This is a nice wall. 3 Banshees, 2 tanks. The Immortal's even taking shots right now. So that Immortal battery, it's gone. More volleys on the Immortal. Terrible situation for Hurricane.
Where's that Prism? Maybe he can wipe in a couple of Zealots from the other side. Okay, that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to drop units maybe on top of the tanks. It's now or never if that Nexus goes down. But GuMiho pulls back the Marines, pushes that Warp Prism away as well. Phenomenal play by GuMiho, but Hurricane, oh Hurricane, what kind of position did you get yourself in?
And GuMiho takes a very swift victory against Hurricane, and whatever went wrong for him in the first series against Hurricane, he fixed it here. Like that game went about as wrong as it could. Your fake proxy gets scouted at the start. It could have went more wrong, given that he could have scouted it again. But the fact that his opponent went for a very aggressive build against him, when he's delayed his tech, he's delayed his economy and stuff.
It makes no sense.
He played into GuMiho's hands, and then he had a really bad army against the push that GuMiho was doing. This isn't an unpopular build. It was very popular a few weeks ago on the ladder. So the fact that Hurricane reacted so improperly against it, he's going to be disappointed in himself.
A lot of Terrans are always going to be very, very happy when they see Stalkers and a Warp Prism march to the other side of the map and the Banshee's about to hit the main base. Because most scenarios, the Stalkers are just chilling at home with an observer. You're like, well, so much for my Banshee tech. I got a probe. In this case, GuMiho got it all. GuMiho qualifies for the round of 24. We're going to head over to a very small break, and after that, we'll be back with Smix and GuMiho.